The birth of Jesus is probably the most momentous event of history. We know that it definitely changed the concept of time, so much so that time is divided before and after him. Even secular people cannot run away from this simple fact. And the movement that he started became the world's leading global religion. However, if we step back a bit, we encounter the birth of Jesus in two very different ways. There are 4 Gospels. Mark and John do not mention any nativity stories, and so we're left with Matthew and Luke. But the two present very different nativity stories. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus is a child born to a very simple, ordinary family from Nazareth, who happened to be in Bethlehem because of some imperial decree from Rome. And his birth took place in probably a shepherd's cave on the hillsides of Bethlehem, with a stone trough as his so-called manger. And the people who came to visit Jesus that night were just simple shepherds who only found out about the birth of this Messiah, this deliverer, this Savior, through an angelic announcement. As you walk through the shepherd's field in Bethlehem today and see the beautiful church that commemorates that event, you can almost imagine the light glory emanating from the angels bathing the entire hillside. That was what clued the shepherds to go to one of those caves to find this newborn babe who will save people, whose birth means good news for everyone. That's Luke. Jesus born in humble origins, born among the simplest of humans, born as a person, a child like any other, and perhaps even a little bit lower than most of us who may have been born in hospitals or at home. And so Luke presents Jesus as someone who was there for the simplest, the most ordinary, the humblest of all humans. On the other hand, Matthew gives a very different picture. The entire nativity story of Matthew is couched in regal terms. This was the gospel writer who loved the idea of kingdom so much that 68 times he would use regal and royal terms. There is no manger. There are no shepherds. The visitors who came to Jesus followed a star. They were regal visitors from the east, these magi. They brought royal gifts to Jesus. They came to the king of Judea to find out where is the new king of the Jews to be born. Their question, their approach, their decor, their gifts, everything laid the path for the king. And Herod, with all of his phobia about somebody taking his throne, who had targeted his own wife and sons because he suspected them of doing that very thing, he was riled up when he learned that an alternative king had been born. And Matthew goes so far as to make deliberate connections between the birth of Jesus and the house of David, the greatest king of Israel, King David. And in their flight from Herod, Jesus and his parents ended up in Egypt, the great land of kings, the great land of pharaohs, and there he would find refuge until it was safe enough for him to return. And so in Matthew, he is the king, he is the ruler. In Luke, he is a person, a humble man, a humble child. And yet, in those two images, we see the entire spectrum of humanity touched by that birth of Jesus. From the highest of the highest, the aristocrats, the kings, the monarchs of this world, to the lowest and the humblest and the simple of human. And that was the shepherds. For you see, Jesus came not just for one group or the other. He came for every group and every person who needed him. So what about us? Well, if we read the Gospel of Luke, we are confronted by this very human image of Jesus. And that image compels admiration and love, the way we would love a friend, somebody who's really close to us. On the other hand, the Gospel of Luke fills us with images of a king, of royalty, of monarchy. And that king commands our allegiance. And therein lies the true message of the birth of Jesus, Christmas, as Christians call it. A man among men, a king among men, a man to meet the needs of all men, high and low, rich and poor, famous and unknown, aristocrats and unnamed shepherds. We do not know the names of the shepherds any more than we know the names of the Magi, but we know the circumstances were very different, very distinct. And yet in the spectrum between those two polar opposites, we find Jesus, filling all of life, all of humanity, and all of time. That is the meaning of Christmas. A king among men, God in human form, to dwell with us, to reveal God to us. That is why Jesus came. That is what Christmas is all about. God bless.